and is God conscious is understood to be greatly fortunate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained that the living entities are rotating in different species of life, in different planetary systems all over the universe. A living entity can go anywhere, to hell or heaven, as he likes, and as he prepares himself. There are many heavenly planets and many hellish planets, or many hellish species of life. The living entity is rotating, wandering through these species, and creating bodies according to his mentality in the present life. As you sow, so shall you reap. That's a statement from the Bible. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that out of all these numberless living entities who are traveling in the material world, one is fortunate enough, one is fortunate, one is fortunate, not everyone. If everyone were fortunate, they would all have taken to Krishna consciousness. It is being distributed freely everywhere, but why are people not taking it? Because they are unfortunate. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that only those who are fortunate take to this Krishna consciousness, and they get hopeful life, pleasant life, blissful life, a life of knowledge. It is the duty of a Vaishnava to go door to door to make the unfortunate people fortunate. A Vaishnava thinks, how can these people be delivered from their hellish life? That was Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry. Sir, he said, you have described that on account of one's sinful activities, one is put into a hellish condition of life or in a hellish planetary system. Now, what are the counter methods by which such persons can be saved? This is the question. When a Vaishnava comes, when God himself comes, or when God's Son or his very confidential devotees come, their only mission is to save the sinful men who are suffering. They have knowledge of how to do this. When Prahlad Maharaja met Narasingha-deva, he said, my dear Lord, Prahlada said, I am not very anxious for my own deliverance. Mayavadi philosophers are very careful that their personal salvation is not interrupted. They think, if I go to preach in association with others, I may fall down, and my realization will be finished. Therefore, they do not come. Only the Vaishnavas come, at the risk of fall down, but they do not fall down. They may even go to hell to deliver the conditioned souls. This is Prahlad Maharaja's mission. He says, Navodvijay, I am not very anxious about living in this material world. Prahlad Maharaja says further, I have no anxiety for myself because somehow or other I have been trained to be always Krishna conscious. Because he is Krishna conscious, he is confident that in his next life he is going to Krishna. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that if one executes the Krishna consciousness regulative principles carefully, it is certain that he will reach the spiritual destination in his next life. That's a very important statement. We should hold that to our heart. Let me read it again. It says, my dear Lord, Prahlad Maharaj says, I am not very anxious for my own deliverance. Mayavadi philosophers are very careful that their personal salvation is not interrupted. They think, if I go to preach in association with others, I may fall down, and my realization will be finished. Therefore, they do not come. Only the Vaishnavas come at the risk of fall down, but they do not fall down. They may even go to hell to deliver the conditioned souls. This is Prahlad Maharaj's mission. He says, Navo Dvije, I am not very anxious about living in this material world. Prahlad Maharaj says further, I have no anxiety for myself because somehow or other I have been trained to be always Krishna conscious. Because he is Krishna conscious, he is confident that in his next life he is going to Krishna. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that if one executes the Krishna consciousness regulative principles carefully, it is certain that he will reach the spiritual destination in his next life. Prahlad Maharaj continues, there is only one source of anxiety for me. Just see, although he had no anxiety for himself, he still had anxiety. He says, Soche tato vimukha chetasa. I am anxious for those persons who are not Krishna conscious. That is my anxiety. For myself, I have no anxiety, but I am thinking of those who are not Krishna conscious. Why aren't they Krishna conscious? Maya sukhaya bharam udvahalo vimudan. These rascals have created a humbug civilization for temporary happiness. Maya sukhaya. Actually, this is a fact. We have humbug civilization. So many cars are being manufactured every year. And for that purpose, so many roads have to be excavated and prepared. This creates problem after problem. Therefore, it is Maya Sukhaya, illusory happiness. And yet, we are trying to be happy in this way. We are trying to manufacture some way to be happy, but this only creates other problems. In your country, you have the greatest number of cars, but that does not solve any problems. You have manufactured cars to help solve the problems of life, but I have experienced that this also creates more problems. When my disciple, Dayananda, wanted to take me to a doctor in Los Angeles, I had to take the trouble to travel 30 miles before I could even consult the doctor. Once you create cars, then you must travel 30 or 40 miles to meet your friends. You can fly from New York to Boston in 1 hour, but it takes even longer than that just to get to the airport. This situation is called Maya Sukhaya. Maya means false or illusory. We are trying to create some very comfortable situation, but we have created another uncomfortable situation. This is the way of the material world. If we are not satisfied by the natural comforts offered by God and nature, and we want to create artificial comforts, then we have to create some discomfort also. Most people do not know that they think that they are creating a very comfortable situation, but actually they are traveling 50 miles to go to the office to earn a living or a livelihood, and 50 miles to come back. Because of such conditions, Prahlad Maharaj says that these vimudhas, these materialistic persons, these rascals, have created an unnecessary burden on themselves simply for temporary happiness. Vimudan, Maya Sukhaya Baram Udvahato. Therefore, in Vedic civilization, it is recommended that one free himself from material life, take sannyasa, the renounced order of life, and prosecute spiritual life with absolutely no anxiety. If we can execute Krishna consciousness in family life, that is, one second, that is what? Okay. If one can execute Krishna consciousness in family life, that is very good. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a family man, a magistrate, and still he executed devotional service so nicely. Dhruva Maharaja and Prahlad Maharaja were grihastas, householders, but they trained themselves in such a way that even as householders, they were faced with no interruption in their service. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says, I have learned the art of always remaining in Krishna consciousness. What is that art? Tvad virya gayana mahamrita magna chittaha. Simply glorifying the victorious activities and pastimes of the Lord. Virya means very heroic. Krishna's activities are heroic. You can read about them in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna's name, his fame, his activities, his associates, and all other things related to him are heroic. Prahlad Maharaj says in this connection, I am certain that wherever I go, I can glorify your heroic activities and be safe. There is no question of my falling down, but I am simply anxious for these persons who have created a type of civilization in which they are always busy working hard. I am thinking of them. Prahlada says further, my dear Lord, there are many saintly persons and sages who are very interested in their own liberation. Manaya means saintly persons or philosophers. Prayena deva munaya sva vimukti kama. They are very interested in their own liberation. They try to live in solitary places like the Himalaya mountains. They do not talk to anyone, and they are always afraid of mixing with ordinary people in the city and becoming disturbed or maybe even falling down. They think, better let me save myself. Prahlad Maharaj regrets that these great saintly persons do not come to the city, where people have manufactured a civilization of very hard work all day and night. Such saints are not very compassionate, he says. I am anxious for these fallen people who are unnecessarily working so hard simply for sense gratification. Even if there were some point in working that hard, such people do not know what it is. All they know is sex. Either they go to a naked dance or to a naked club or to this or that. Prahlad Maharaj says, Netan vihaya kripanan vimuksha eka. My Lord, I do not need salvation alone. Unless I take all these fools with me, I shall not go. He refuses to go to the kingdom of God without taking all those fallen souls with him. This is a Vaishnava. Nanyam tvad asya saranam brahmato nupasye. I simply want to teach them how to surrender unto you, my dear Lord. That's all. That is my goal. The Vaishnava knows that as soon as one surrenders, one's path is clear. Somehow or other, let them bow down before Krishna. This is a simple method. All you have to do is bow down before Krishna with faith and say, my Lord Krishna, I was forgetful of you for so long, for so many lives. Now I have come to consciousness. Please accept me. That's all. If one simply learns this technique and sincerely surrenders himself to the Lord, his path is immediately open, and these are the philosophical thoughts of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is always thinking about how the fallen conditioned souls can be delivered. He is always involved in making plans in that way, just like the Goswamis. What was the business of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana? Lord Chaitanya's direct disciples. That is stated by Srinivas Acharya. The 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopalabhata Goswami are very expert in scrutinizingly studying the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. They are always absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. With similar Vaishnava compassion, Parikshit Maharaj says to Sukadeva Goswami, "You have described the different types of hellish conditions of life. Now tell me how those who are suffering can be delivered. Kindly explain this to me." Nara means human beings, those who are fallen. Narakan Nara. Nanogra yatanan net neyat tanme. How can they be delivered from their fierce miseries and horrible pains? That is a Vaishnava heart. Maharaj Pariksit says, somehow or other they have fallen down to this hellish life, but that does not mean that they should remain in that condition. There must be some means by which they can be delivered, so kindly explain that. Sukadeva Goswami replied, "Yes, I've always described the different types of hellish conditions and very severe painful life, but one has to counteract it. How can this be done? Sinful activities are committed in various ways. We can commit sinful activity or thus make a plan thinking, I shall kill that man. Either way, it is sinful. When the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing, then there is action. The other day, I was reading in a book that if someone's dog barks at you when you are passing on the road, then that is an offense on the part of the dog's owner, according to law. No one should have to be scared by dogs barking, so one should take care of his dog. I read this. It is a law in your country. The dog is simply barking, but it is sinful. The dog is not responsible because it is an animal, but because the owner of the animal has made the dog his best friend, he is responsible by law. If an outside dog enters your house, it may not be killed, but the owners of the dog may be prosecuted. Just as the barking of the dog is unlawful, so when you speak something offensive to others, that is also sinful. That is just like barking. Therefore, sinful activities are committed in so many ways, whether we think of sinful activities or we speak something sinful, or we actually commit a sinful activity. They are all considered sinful activities. One has to suffer punishment for such sinful activities. People do not believe in a next life because they want to avoid this botheration. But we cannot avoid it. We must act according to the law or we will be punished. Similarly, I cannot avoid God's law. That is not possible. I can cheat others, commit theft, and hide myself, thereby saving myself from the punishment of the state law, but I cannot save myself from the superior law, the law of nature. It is very difficult. There are so many witnesses. The daylight is witness, the moonlight is witness, and Krishna is the supreme witness. You cannot say, I am committing the sin, but no one can see me. Krishna is the supreme witness sitting within your heart. He notes down what you are thinking and what you are doing. He also gives facility. If you want to do something to satisfy your senses, Krishna gives the facility for that action. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. I am sitting in everyone's heart. From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. In this way, Krishna gives us a chance. If you want Krishna, then he will give you a chance to have him. If you don't want Krishna, then he will give you a chance to forget him. If you want to enjoy life forgetting Krishna, forgetting God, then Krishna will give you all facility so that you can forget. And if you want to enjoy life with Krishna consciousness, then Krishna will give you the chance to make progress in Krishna consciousness. That is up to you. If you think that you can be happy without Krishna consciousness, Krishna does not object to that. After advising Arjuna, he simply said, "Now I have explained everything to you. Whatever you desire, you can do." Arjuna replied immediately, "Karishye vachanam tava." Now I shall execute your order. That is Krishna consciousness. God does not interfere with your little independence. If you want to act according to the order of God, then God will help you. Even if you fall down sometimes, if you become sincere, from this time on I shall remain Krishna conscious and execute God's orders, then Krishna will help you. In all respects, even if you fall down, he will excuse you and give you more intelligence. This intelligence will say, "Don't do this. Now go on with your duty." But if you want to forget Krishna, if you want to become happy without Krishna, he will give you so many chances that you will forget Krishna life after life. Parikshit Maharaj says here, "It is not that if I say there is no God, then there will be no God, or I will not be responsible for what I do. This is the atheistic theory. Atheists do not want God because they are always sinful. If they thought that there was a God, then they would be forced to surrender to the Lord. Therefore, they deny the existence of God. That is their process. They think that if they do not accept God, then there is no punishment. And they can do whatever they like." It's like the rabbit that puts his head in a hole when there's danger. When rabbits are being attacked by bigger animals, they close their eyes and think, "I am not going to be killed." But they are killed anyway. Similarly, we may deny the existence of God and the law of God, but still God and his law are there. In the highest court, you may say, "I don't care for the law of the government," but you will be forced to accept the government law. If you deny the state law, then you will be put into prison and be caused to suffer. Similarly, you may foolishly decry the existence of God. "There is no God," or "I am God," but nevertheless, you are responsible for all your actions, both good and bad. There are two kinds of activities, good and bad. If you act nicely and perform pious activities, then you get good fortune. And if you act sinfully, then you have to suffer. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami says, there are different kinds of atonement. If you commit some sin and counteract it by something else, that is atonement. There are examples of this in the Christian Bible. Sukadeva Goswami says, "You should know that you are responsible, and according to the gravity of sinful life, you should accept some type of atonement as described in the Shastras or the scriptures. Actually, just as when one is diseased, he must go to a doctor and pay doctor bills as a form of atonement, according to the Vedic way of life, there is a class of brahmanas to whom one should go for the prescribed atonement according to the sins one commits. Sukadeva Goswami says that one has to execute the prescribed atonement according to the gravity of one's sinful life. He continues the example. When you consult a physician, he prescribes an inexpensive medicine or a costly medicine according to the gravity of the disease. If you simply have a headache, he may prescribe an aspirin. But if you have something more severe, he immediately prescribes a surgical operation that will cost thousands of dollars. Similarly, sinful life is a diseased condition, so one must follow the prescribed cure to become healthy. Acceptance of the chain of birth and death is a diseased condition of the soul. The soul has no birth and death and no disease because it is spirit. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, Najayate, the soul has no birth, and mriyate, it has no death. Nitya sasratam purano, nahanyate hanyamane sarire. The soul is eternal and everlasting. It is not lost with the dissolution of this body. Nahanyate hanyamane sarire. Nahanyate means that it is not killed or destroyed even after the destruction of this body. The missing point of material civilization is that there is no educational system to instruct people on what happens after death. Thus, we have the most defective education, because without this knowledge of what happens after death, one dies like an animal. The animal does not know that he is going to have another body. He has no such knowledge. Human life is not meant for becoming an animal. One should not simply be interested in eating, sleeping, sex life, and defense. You may have a very nice arrangement for eating, or many nice buildings for sleeping, or a very good arrangement for sex life, or a very good defense force to protect you. But that does not mean that you are a human being. That type of civilization is animal life. Animals are also interested in eating, sleeping, and sex life, and according to their own methods, they defend also. Where, then, is the distinction between human life and animal life if you simply engage in these four principles of bodily nature? The distinction is made when a human being is inquisitive. Why have I been put into this miserable condition? Is there any remedy for it? Is there any perpetual eternal life? I do not want to die. I want to live very happily and peacefully. Is there a chance of this? What is that method? What is that science? When these inquiries are there and steps are taken to answer these questions, that is human civilization. Otherwise, it is doggish civilization, animal civilization. Animals are satisfied if they can eat, sleep, have some sex life, and have some defense. Actually, there is no defense because no one can protect himself from the hands of cruel death. Hiranyakashipu, for instance, wanted to live forever, and so he underwent severe austerities. So-called scientists are now saying that we shall stop death by scientific methods. Don't believe it. It's complete nonsense. This is another crazy utterance. That is not possible. You may make great advancement in scientific knowledge, but there is no scientific solution to these four problems: birth, death, old age, and disease. What's interesting is so much advancement has been made in the last 300 years for medical, let's say, for helping people to be healthy. So much advancement has been made, but still people are dying. Still people are getting sick, and still people are what you would call miserable. Okay? So, what is the solution? Yeah, there's aspirin and other medicines and so forth, but still, the people are not living more than maximum 100 years. The duration of life has not increased. And if anything, it's decreased because of the bad habits of people. So we see that actually no real tangible advancement has been made in the last uh, uh, 500 years. People are still dying, people are still getting sick, there are still wars, there are still accidents, and so forth. So, where is the advancement? Well, there is no advancement. The only possibility of advancement is to become Krishna conscious. Otherwise, the so called advancement that has been made by the materialist is no advancement because they haven't really solved any problems. There's still death, there's still disease, there's still old age, there's still all kinds of what you would call there are wars and there are uh, um, um, what you would call uh, day, uh, well, there are uh, floods and other things, and none of those things have stopped. There's no remedy for any of those things. So no real advancement has been made in the last 500 years. Okay, so then, therefore, we'll end up with this last statement. Animals are satisfied if they can eat, sleep, have some sex life, and have some defense. Actually, there is no defense because no one can protect himself from the hands of cruel death. Hiranyakashipu, for instance, wanted to live forever, and so he underwent severe austerities. So-called scientists are now saying that we shall stop death by scientific methods. This is also another crazy this is this is also another crazy utterance. Yeah. That is not possible. You may make great advancement in scientific knowledge, but there is no scientific solution to these four problems: birth, death, old age, and disease. One who is intelligent will be eager to solve these four prime problems. No one wants to die, but there is no remedy. I have to die. Everyone is very anxious to stop the increase of population by employing so many contraceptive methods, but still birth is going on. So there is no stoppage of birth. You may invent up-to-date medicines by your scientific methods, but you cannot stop disease. It is not possible just to take a tablet to put an end to disease. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Janma Mityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Dosana Darshanam. One might think that he has solved all the problems of his life, but where is the solution to these four problems of birth, death, old age, and disease? That solution is Krishna consciousness. Okay, this is very interesting, you see. The scientists say that we have made so many scientific advancement, but people are still dying. And they're not living more than 60, 70 years or 80 years old, right? So they haven't really advanced. Even though they've made so many medicines and so many advancement in surgery and this and that, still the people are dying. And still the people are suffering. They haven't stopped wars. They haven't stopped the bad weather. everything that they've done that was supposed to make life easier has not happened, right? Like, for example, you buy a car and then you get stuck in traffic or there's an accident. So, you see, this is the truth. This is the actual factual thing. No real advancement has been made, although there's been a lot of scientific research and medicine and other ways, but still the people are dying, they're getting sick, and the lifespan has not increased. That means that we have to become realistic. The only way to make spiritual advancement, or the only way to make advancement, is to become Krishna conscious. They can't even stop wars today. The United Nations has been there for so many years. The wars haven't stopped. They had the League of Nations after World War I, and they said that wars were stopped because now we will have a lot of discussion to stop people from going to war. That failed. Then, they had World War II after World War I, and then after World War II, they started the United Nations, saying that, oh, this will solve all our problems. We'll get everyone together, and they'll talk, and there won't be any more war. That hasn't stopped. And also, the scientists have been saying, well, by 2050, that's right. That's it. What's that? Right now, when is it? 2025. By 2050, death will be what they would call optional. That means if you want to die, you can die. You don't want to die, you won't die. That's a bunch of nonsense. So here we have the opportunity to clear all the nonsense and become realistic. The realistic or realism is Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you become a devotee and you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the only mantra that you can say correctly in this age of Kali Yuga, no other mantra can be said correctly. And if you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and you follow the lifestyle of a devotee, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, always chant Hare Krishna, engage in devotional service, etc., you can be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. That's the only promise that can be kept by Krishna. He's guaranteeing that if you follow his instructions, you can be liberated. But all these other plans, we're going to go to Mars, then we're going to go to the moon, and we're going to solve the problem of death. All that is nonsense. It's never going to happen. They have never gone to the moon. They're never going to go to Mars, and they're never going to stop people from dying. The only promise that can be kept is Krishna's promise that if you surrender to him and engage in devotional service, you will be liberated in this lifetime. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, the biggest joke, the League of Nations after World War I, completely bogus. There was World War II. After World War II, they started the United Nations, right? Another failure. The war has never stopped. It keeps going on and on and on. Then the doctors, they're saying, well, by 2050, death will be optional. That is complete nonsense statements. People are still getting sick. They're still dying. And nothing has changed. So we should believe Krishna. Krishna is guaranteeing eternal life if we become Krishna conscious Well, even Jesus Christ was offering that eternal life, right? But there were some mistakes in Christianity. The Christians eat meat, so they're not going to be liberated. They don't have the full knowledge, but in Krishna consciousness, the full knowledge is there. We simply have to follow what Prabhupada has taught us. You go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.